Hey there, everybody. Welcome. We are in a study called Lesser Known People of the Bible, and today we're going to talk about someone named Korah. Maybe you know about Korah, maybe you don't. It's getting tough now. We've given about 20 of these, I think, maybe a few more than that, and so trying to pick who is well known and who is not well known in the Bible. The truth is, I've read through the Bible numbers and numbers of times, and so none of these people are unknown to me, but, to others who may not be as well versed, they could be. So, anyhow, we're going to turn to Numbers chapter number 16 today. So, turn your Bibles there with me, please, if you can do that. Numbers 16 tells us a little bit about Korah. Korah is going to be one of the musician families. They're going to be seen in the book of Psalms. You'll see often, a psalm of Korah and so forth. So, number 16 here, we're going to start reading in verse number 1. Now, Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men. So you see, Korah is the son of Izhar, who is the son of Kohath, the son of Levi. So the Levites had three primary families that divided into different responsibilities regarding the tabernacle service. And the Kohathites, or the ones from Kohath, were one of those three families. And so Korah is a descendant of that particular family. So he gets some men together, verse 2, and they rose up before Moses with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and said unto them, Ye take too much upon you, seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore then lift ye up yourselves above the congregation of the Lord. And so here's what Korah's doing. He's getting an insurrection against Moses reared up. He takes 250 princes of the assembly. So you've got 12 tribes, probably 20 or so from each tribe, depending on the size of the tribes. And he gets all of these men together, and they go and see Moses. How'd you like to hear a knock at your door, and when you open it, there's 250 men standing out there telling you they think you're doing a bad job? And it wasn't just that they thought he was doing a poor job. He says, how have you lifted yourself up above the congregation of the Lord? And then he makes this claim that every one of the Israelites is holy, and we know from their behavior that they're not. They're a group of complaining, griping, whining, faithless, terrible people very often. This is why they're wandering in the wilderness. So these are not holy people. Secondarily, Moses isn't lifting himself up above the people. God put him in the position that he did. And so they accuse Moses of doing what he's doing out of pride. Moses' reaction is quite the opposite of what they're accusing him of. Verse 4, and when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. So Moses gets down on his hands and knees and bows his face to the ground as though he's praying or worshiping God. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, Even tomorrow the Lord will show who are his and who is holy, and will cause him to come near unto him. Even him whom he hath chosen will he cause to come near unto him. And so Moses says, okay, well, let's leave this up to the Lord then. Let's let the Lord decide who indeed is holy and who is not. And we'll know this tomorrow. And then he gives them some instruction. Verse 6, This do, take your censers, Korah and all his company, and put fire therein, and put incense in them before the Lord tomorrow. And it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy. Ye take too much upon you, ye sons of Levi. And so Moses throws the same accusation right back at them. He says that Korah said of Moses in verse 3, Ye take too much upon you. And now Moses says, no, you're taking too much upon you. Moses said unto Korah, this is verse 8, Hear, I pray you, ye sons of Levi, seemeth it but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel hath separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to do the service of the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister unto them? So Moses says, hey, I want you to think about something, Korah. You know, God's chosen you. He's chosen the Kohathites, your family, to do a particular service of the tabernacle of the Lord. Does that seem like a small thing to you? And Moses is, in a way, defending himself here, saying, look, you were chosen by God, just as I was chosen by God. Neither one of us had any say in it. And I'll tell you this, I don't take my job lightly. Do you take your job lightly, what God has given you to do? And then he continues, verse 10, And he hath brought thee near to him, and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, with thee. And seek ye the priesthood also? So the priests were supposed to come through the lineage of Aaron, and the Kohathites were not of the lineage of Aaron. And so Moses asks him, why do you want more than you've already been given by God? He continues in verse 11, For which cause both thou and all thy company are gathered together, notice, against the Lord. Moses isn't saying that he's had them rise up against him, but against the Lord. And what is Aaron that ye murmur against him? And so Moses is really making some bold proclamations here. Now, there's a verse in the book of Proverbs that says this, the righteous are bold as a lion. When you know you're doing right, and when you know you're in the right, you don't have anything to be afraid of. You have nothing to fear. And when you have nothing to fear, you're bold. Moses has nothing to fear. He knows he didn't even want this job. If you go all the way back to the beginning of the book of Exodus, when God tries to call him, he doesn't want it. He makes excuse after excuse. But God has put him in this place, and so he realizes that, you know what, I'll just leave this up to God then. And for that matter, Moses' attitude, I'm sure, was, if God doesn't want me doing this anymore, that's fine. He can take me right out of it. So verse 12, Moses sent to call Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, which said, We will not come up. Is it a small thing that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey, to kill us in the wilderness, except thou make thyself altogether a prince over us? So now you've got these two guys, Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and they said, we're not coming up tomorrow. We're sick of you, Moses. You know, you brought us out of the Egyptian land into the wilderness to kill us, unless we follow you. And it's only if we follow you that you're going to make sure we're taken care of. Moreover, thou hast not brought us into a land that floweth with milk and honey, or given us inheritance of fields and vineyards. Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men? We will not come up. And Moses was very wroth, and said unto the Lord, Respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said unto Korah, Be thou and all thy company before the Lord, thou and they and Aaron, tomorrow. And and take every man his censer, and put incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord every man his censer, 250 censers, thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. And they took every man his censer, and put fire therein, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the glory of the Lord appeared unto all the congregation. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. So here God says, I'm going to kill them all, Moses and Aaron. Step back, because I don't want you to get burned with the fire I'm going to consume them with. God is not playing here. Let's continue. We're going to bring some principles out of this in the end. Verse 22, And they fell on their faces and said, O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spake unto the congregation, saying, Depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. So they gat up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan and Abiram on every side. And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives, and their sons, and their little children. And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works. For I have not done them of mine own mind. So Moses warns them and says, God's about to prove to you that I'm not the one involved here. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up with all that appertain unto them, meaning their families, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, when he made an end of speaking, lost my place here, all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, Lest the earth swallow us up also. And there came out a fire from the Lord, and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. And we're going to go ahead and stop there. That's pretty much the end of the story of Korah here. So what's happened? Well, you get a group of people that decided, you know what? We think we ought to be in charge instead of Moses. The problem is, Moses didn't assign himself leadership. He didn't put himself in charge. Likewise, the Lord did not put those men in charge. The Bible tells us in the book of Daniel, I believe it's chapter 4, that God sets up kings and takes down kings. He establishes princes and he removes princes. God is the one who chooses who he wants to lead and who he does not. So if God had wanted Korah to lead, then Korah would have been the leader, but he was not. And so here's what we need to take from this. First off, no one needs a title to be a leader. All right? If you want to do right, and you want to do right by God and your fellow man, you can do that every single day. And you don't need a title to do that. You don't need to have your name on a desk or on a door. You don't have to have a corner office. All you have to do is do right, and people will watch you as you do right, and they will follow suit. The problem with Korah is he didn't want influence, he wanted power, as though Moses had any power, and he truly didn't. But Korah wanted that power that Moses had. He wanted the prestige, he wanted the name, the title. And so he rose up against Moses. Now the trouble with that is you don't lift your hand against God's anointed. You don't rise up against the leader that God has put in your life. And that can go any number of ways. It goes with a wife and her husband. It goes with children and their parents. It goes with boss at work and those who follow and work for that boss. It goes for a pastor and the church family. Never rise up against the leader that God has put into your life. If God wants that leader gone, he can get him out. God put him there, God can take him away. One time someone asked me a question. They said, hey, this pastor, there were some rumors circulating about this guy. What do you think about it? I said, well, the time the rumors were circulated and the things that were said, I didn't know the guy back then and didn't know anything about him. And the truth is, I only know him from a distance now. So how am I to know whether any of that is true or not? But I do know this, that God knows whether or not it's true. And if God wants to take that guy out, God can do it. And if God doesn't do it, then the Lord must be okay with him doing what he's doing. Because if he weren't, he'd remove him. And so that's faith and trusting that God knows what's best. Something else is, Korah just stuck his nose where it didn't belong. You know, you take too much upon you. Well, clearly, Korah didn't know the story of the burning bush and all that God had done with Moses when he came to call him. Notice he's several generations down from the Kohathites, from Kohath himself, 3 or 4 if memory serves me right. It's easy to second guess leaders. It's easy to say, I don't think he should have done that, or I don't think she made the right decision. If I were in their place, I would have done this. More often than not, the leader is privy to information that you just don't have. And so the leader is making a more informed decision than you're able to make because you don't have the information that they have. Now, let me just say, there are corrupt leaders, there are wicked leaders, there are godless leaders. And clearly, it's it's obvious when those people are going contrary to what is decent, good, and right. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who are seeking to be sincere and honest and forthright in their leadership, as Moses was, and yet these men weren't happy. And usually it's because they want the power that they think the other individual has. One last thing as we wrap this up here today. Notice no one wants to steal influence or power until the hard work of building is done. You don't find somebody like, for instance, let's take these computer companies, Microsoft, Apple. They start in garages and things of that nature. So you've got Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs in a garage trying to build these computers. You didn't find anyone like Korah showing up and saying, we want control of this company. No, it's 2 guys in a garage. But once Apple is established and successful, then all of a sudden there's a board of directors, and those board of directors have votes. And next thing you know, they're voting the founder of the company out of the company. And it's that type of thing where people don't struggle for control until after something has already been built that usually they didn't have any part in building. Because the one who helped build it, they're not trying to fight. They're not trying to struggle for control or power. They're just trying to keep doing what they have always done in keeping the organization afloat, whether that be a home, a family, a marriage, children, a company, a church, you name it. And so we need to be wise and just let God put the leaders in place. If he chooses us, then we better lead. And if he doesn't, let's get behind the leader that God's put in front of us. Let's be loyal. Let's serve alongside of that leader and even serve that leader so that he or she can do the best job that God's given him to do. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. Korah, lesser known person in the Bible, and what a rotten one he was. Thanks so much for watching. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.